Welcome to Draw This. Draw This is a series of videos where I'll randomly generate a word and then draw it for you in real time while describing my process so that you, the viewer, can follow along. So let's go ahead and generate a word using wordgenerator.net, and that word is spiderweb. So I'm going to hop over to Corel Painter X3 and we can go ahead and get started with this painting. So I have a new canvas here that is 16 by 12 inches at 72 dpi. And I'm going to select the paint bucket tool and black or a very dark color. And then I'm going to tap to fill the canvas with that dark color. I'll create a new layer, call it web. This will be for our spider web. And then the color that we'll paint with will be a nice bright color. It doesn't have to stay this color. We'll choose the jitter airbrush, and you'll want to make sure that the opacity is set very low like I have and that all the other settings are the same. And then for the size, we'll set that to 2. You may want it larger or smaller depending on your web, but something like that works. And then we'll turn on kaleidoscope mode. You'll want to change the color of the divisions to something that you can see. I like gray. You can choose any color you want. And then the number of divisions, you'll want to set that to 12, but you could set that to whatever you want as well. I'm going to hold shift while I paint on this vertical line, and that will make sure that all my lines are straight for my web. Then I'm going to hold shift on the horizontal axis and paint far outside the canvas. That way your line goes all the way to the edge. And then we're going to connect a few of the lines. You'll notice that the lines converge at that gray guide there right in the middle between the two pink lines. So we really only have to paint half of the line. You can just stay on one side of it if you want and just go back and forth, and it will copy that same thing to the other side. And you don't have to connect all of these, you can just do a few. These will be just the main strands. We'll go back to the kaleidoscope mode and turn it off, and then we can connect some of these strands asymmetrically, so you don't have to have them all line up as they did at first. Now you can just put them in wherever you want, and this helps it look more organic, and it gives your web more character. If you want, you can go and you can look online for pictures of real spider webs and get a feel for how they look. This is kind of a hybrid between realistic and cartoony. I've sped up the footage here a little bit to just show you what you can do in a quick amount of time, and then we can go ahead and use the Distort brush to make this web a little less straight. You'll want the grain setting to be pretty low, and you just want to nudge things a little bit, because if you move it too much it's going to look unnatural. So if you need to do some undos, go ahead and do that, but just kind of nudge it around. It'll make it look more organic, and you can stretch it however you need to. We'll turn on preserve transparency, and then we'll select a white color, and we'll use the Scratchboard tool to just go ahead and paint over this pink with a more natural color like a white. And then we'll go ahead and create a new layer, and we'll call it Vignette. And then we will make sure to turn off preserve transparency and set the composite method to multiply. Then we'll select black and the digital airbrush. You'll want your brush size to be pretty large for this to work, and then we'll just paint along the edges to create a vignette. Now this vignette helps the web look a little more natural, and it also draws the focus towards the center of the piece, which can be helpful. Makes it look kind of moody, like a haunted house or something. If you want, you can create a background layer. Here's a quick example of what you could do if you wanted to throw something in the background, but again, that's optional. You can use free transform as another option if you want to reposition this web or stretch it or squash it. There's a lot of different things you can do. I can rotate it, for instance. If I wanted to, I can scale it, which means making it bigger or smaller or squashing it. If you drag from the corners and you hold shift, you can make sure that you don't squash it, and it'll just scale down naturally. And then if you want to, you can select the move mode and reposition it. So then I could have my web up here in the corner. I could stretch it to fit the canvas, and now I have a whole different composition for my spider web. And I see down in the bottom left corner there's a little bit of pink left that I didn't paint over, so I'll just paint over that using preserve transparency and white with the Scratchboard tool, and we have a finished web. This is something that you could repurpose in other pieces too if you wanted to. If you enjoyed this episode of Draw This, I hope you'll join me every Tuesday for a new episode. Click the subscribe button and you'll get my latest updates. And if you like this, take a quick second to click the like button and share this on YouTube and on Facebook so that other artists can find this information. I'll see you next Tuesday.